needed a reason not to do so, and they selected people for the army, for the Air Force, and also for, let's say, border patrol, this part. They were young, 18, 19, 20, had to serve 18 years. When someone shot, he was replaced and had a different service to do. He was away from his friends, from his unit. He would not stay in the unit.
Oh, because I guess they knew that after you'd killed another citizen, yes, a lot of times you had bad feelings about it.
Bad feelings about, you would talk about, and no one should talk about. So they moved them away. I have no idea what.
Yeah, now they're giving the troops amnesics after they tell them kill a whole village. They give them an amnesic. That's even come out in Wired magazine, so no one remembers. That's pretty evil.
In the last years, when I was active in service, no one would try to cross the border, because everyone knows there is no way. But when, they would shoot. This is for sure, you know?
What about that famous photo? Because, I mean, how could you shoot women and children? And I guess they just followed orders and did it.
Yes. Just followed orders and did it.
Now, I know the press was totally controlled, but in hindsight, you know more now. When we come back, I want to ask, were there any other stand-downs or revolts that you learned about after your successful stand-down on the other side? Now, obviously, Mr.
Romania is very interesting.
Well, let's talk about Romania straight ahead. Gunter Spens is our guest. We're going to be right back with him, because this is what America is facing. Make no mistake. And now it's admitted. They are training the military to wage war against the population and confiscate guns.
Europe 92.
Gunter Spens is our guest. He's going to be on InfoWars Nightly News tonight. I'm going to do a long interview with him, and then we're going to air it at the end of the live news Thursday evening. You know, we have the news and also extended interviews like we did last night. We aired part 2 of the pharmacist Ben Fuchs interview. And we're going to have some breaking Oathkeeper news with Wayne Madsen that is major league dealing with the situation with Fast and Furious. Now, getting back to Oathkeepers, this is a short segment, but you were saying it'd be good to start now just on how the stand-down began and how proud of you are, the town that you were in and the command center that you were in, what you guys said beforehand, and then what unfolded. Yeah, so how the beginning of the Berlin Wall began. You were there.
Yes, it started in the spring, early spring in 1989. East Germany existed this time 40 years, and economy, everything was going down. And a group of people after the church in downtown Leipzig went out of the church after the service and just walked around the downtown in Leipzig. Next Monday, the same. But more people came just to watch. I mean, also Staatssicherheit was there and controlled it, but they did not expect this will continue. And they had nothing in their hands to arrest you or something like this. He just thought this will stop and will go away. But it was not going away. It was more and more. And in the army, the service of regulation, the regulation of service, says clearly you have not to obey. It was written in the documents. You have not to obey an order against the own people or against international law. This was written. So the documents were okay in East Germany, but the problem was the body didn't follow any order. We see this here too. Law is law, but you can ignore it. You enforce law you like. As we see here now, yeah? The border is actually closed. When someone comes illegal from Mexico to the United States, it's against the law, it's crime. But it's not enforced. And same was in East Germany, much more grass, because the border were always right. And therefore they had cameras there, recorded everything, just to collect information and try to find a way to stop this. But it was not stoppable because there was more and more, and every Monday people came from other cities, close Leipzig, every Monday in the city to see and joined more. And later also as officers from our headquarters joined, not in uniform, but I know this man. And then in October, the 7th of October, was the 40th anniversary of the Republic, East Germany. And the Monday before, it was 75,000. And when you see the numbers, Leipzig had a population of about, at this time, 500,000. And 75,000 were on the street from everywhere. They had a long way sometimes, not just from the city. And you know, the next Monday will be much more. So they tried to stop this. The Monday before, there was paramilitary units from all these companies. They had to have the trained paramilitary units, and they put them on the street with Kalashnikov, AK-47, but no ammunition. And they did not use the Stasi against, because this would have would bring a revolution right now. So, and they know exactly the next Monday will be more. Next Monday, were 150,000 on the street. This means 1% of the whole population of East Germany were on this Monday in the city of Leipzig in the rally. This is a lot. And this was finally the fall. There was no way. There would be the next Monday maybe half the population on the street. Yeah? So it was over. They had to find a solution. And on this Monday, we had a meeting in the headquarters of the army. We had a meeting, and afternoon, and the commander of the Russians were also there. And our commander was Lieutenant General Bauer. He said clearly, no soldier will leave the base. There were already soldiers, the paratroops in Leipzig, young guys, 18, 19, 20 years, and they were trained to use them on the street. But no one had to leave the base.
All right, stay there. This is an amazing point to stop. And you were a lieutenant colonel there who was part of this, the stand down that on record in the history books led to the fall of the Berlin Wall by people simply not acting like animals, acting like human beings. And then we'll talk about what the Stasi did once the fall happened, running and hiding. And then we'll look at parallels to what's happening here today.
We're on the march. The empire's on the...
Classical tyranny is being set up in this country. And Gunter Spens was a lieutenant colonel in the East German army. He was there at the epicenter of the stand down against tyranny. And look at the headlines today. Sheriff's Department sponsored secret meeting on small government terrorist run by the ADL. And it says people that don't want big government or want their rights are terrorists. Here's another one, Daily Mail. Meet the North Dakota family of anti-government separatists busted by cops using a Predator drone after, quote, stealing 6 cows that kept coming on their property. 3,000-acre ranch, they call living on a farm, the government calls it a compound. Even living on a farm. I'm telling you, the entire architecture of this is pointed at the American people. I've been to the urban warfare drills. You've seen my films, The Takeover, Police Day 2000, all of them. You've seen it, where the military trains to take on the American people. And people are like, oh, this couldn't be real. Now it's being admitted. Ron Paul is fighting, and he said it is martial law. The NDAA is martial law. The House is set to pass it tomorrow, okay? And Obama, who said that he didn't want to sign it because he already has those powers, turns out he pressured Congress to actually add the part for American citizens in the end of posse comitatus and kill anybody in the world anytime they want. I mean, this is the Stasi never tried something like this. The Russians didn't behave like this. I mean, Hitler didn't put stuff like this down on paper. You know, Mao didn't put stuff like this down on paper. You know, as you were saying, Gunter, that even in East Germany, you had all these rights on paper. The UN has all these rights on paper to get to Article 30. We have all these rights on paper. America is the first country to actually be getting rid of them on paper. This is unprecedented. That land of the free, home of the brave would now become this light of evil worldwide. So let's get back to the stand down and what progressed. You said the commander of the base, and if you remember, tell us his name and everything that transpired, what it was like, what you were talking about, and then what unfolded, then what the Stasi did, and the changes that took place. And then we'll get into what America's turned into from the parallels you may see.
Now, first, as I mentioned, in the army, a soldier, officer, had not to obey any order against their own people, against international law. I am an oathkeeper here, and when you read the 10 orders we did not obey, we are called terrorists. We were not terrorists in East Germany. In East Germany, when someone had a different meaning or tried to work against the party, he was not a patriot, he was not a terrorist, he was against the Republic.
Enemy of the Republic.
Yes, the enemy of the state, enemy of the Republic, it is actually the same. And the same happens here. When you say you stand for the Constitution, you support the Constitution, you took the oath to defend the Constitution, American people, then you are close to a terrorist. Something is not right.
Listen, I have police squad car video in my film Road to Tyranny where they pull a woman over at a checkpoint and they find a pocket constitution and they get scared. They swore an oath to it. It's like a joke. I mean, even with the East German, police and military, you guys weren't scared of the Constitution, were you? Somebody pulled it out, did you act like it was a snake?
It was completely different in East Germany because we got teach the Constitution in the school. I learned it in the school. And then later, we had to have, before you took the oath in the army, we had to have lessons about the Constitution, what we have to do. And then we took the oath of the Constitution and became soldier, or in my case, officer. The Constitution, everyone knows it because it was taught in the school. Everyone knows the history. Of course, a little bit different because it's the big question, who tells you the history? Huh?
Exactly. Now, I want to get back to the parallels with modern day, but let's continue. So you're there in the town where it all begins. Your commanding officer says, you're ordered to go out on the streets and suppress people. Don't do it.
Yes, the party started different ways to bring these rallies down, but there were more and more people, and there was no way to bring them down. And you could not start. The Stasi could do nothing. When the Stasi would be on the street and try to arrest people, there would be a civil war. Everyone hates the Stasi. They could not do anything, not in public. And they tried to bring the army in. First, the paramilitary troops, without ammunition, but with AK-47s, just standing there along the street, doing nothing, just to make a statement, give a statement. And then they brought from close to Berlin is a base of the paratroops, parachuters and the airborne, and they brought into Leipzig.
So they were marching around with machine guns, trying to intimidate people, just like our system does now.
Just making pressure.
Black uniforms, guns, German shepherds. It's not for Al-Qaeda, it's for little old ladies.
And later, they really were going to use the paratroops, the soldiers, against the people to bring them from the street. And at the last day was the 7th of October, 150,000 on the street, which is immense for the city, Leipzig. And we had in the afternoon a meeting, all officers of the headquarters of the army, and my commander said clearly no soldier will leave the base.
Really?
This Monday. No soldier will leave the base, including the paratroops we are there. So it was, and all the time was absolutely peaceful. Absolutely peaceful. No broken window, nothing. It's incredible when you see this. This is power.
And so when the authoritarian state's enforcers didn't enforce, the tyranny fell. But please continue. So with what happened once the military stood down?
So the rally was peaceful, huge rally, and the party know this is just the beginning. The week before, 75,000. Next Monday, twice the size, 150,000. Which is 1% of the whole population of East Germany. There was no way out of the situation. And what the party did, that we have to do something. And the problem was the border. People want to leave, leave East Germany. And the border was closed. And this was a question of the time. It would be like a civil war. And normally the party works like this. They will not give you an order in the party. They will tell you what they want, and they expect you will do the best you can to fulfill this order. So in the party, you would never say, you have to say this, you have to do this. No, you will say it's necessary, and you can do this, and give you the order, but you have to do it and decide it by your own. So fulfill the order of the party. This is all the education the party for this way. So, and that happens the following, you say, okay, we need a document, we need a solution for this